Welcome back. I'm going to show you how Google Classroom interacts with your Google Drive. Other learning management systems like Blackboard or Canvas have their own file storage. So you upload a file to Canvas, right? Like it's something that's on your Google Drive and you create it, or you've created it in Word, and then you add that file to the learning management system. Google Classroom doesn't work that way. Everything is integrated. So Google Drive is the file storage for Google Classroom. This is my drive. It's a little hectic, I admit, but everybody in their drive, if they've used Google Classroom, has this folder called Classroom. And when I click on that folder, you see every Google Classroom I have ever made has its own folder in Google Classroom, which is a lot. I've had a lot of Google Classrooms. Okay, if I go to my AP Statistics one for the course we've been using, you can see that each assignment I've created in the classroom that has a doc attached to it corresponds to a file in the drive. If I open test assignment 2, remember that's the one where I uploaded a Google Doc and said make a copy for each student. This is where all those copies I made for each student are going to exist. In a minute when this finishes loading, you'll see Cowboys pop up. And one thing that's nice about this is if I have something that students are working on over time, I can navigate to this folder. I can see all of their documents that they get Classroom set up for them. And I can see very quickly when the last time the document was modified and who modified it. So right now it's set to last modified, or I can set it to last modified by me. And this is a helpful way to know if students are keeping up with their work without having to open everything. And it can also be a good way, like when I do learning logs, I don't necessarily go through and review them all at once. I kind of do 5 at a time. And so if I switch this to last modified or last opened by me, it helps me keep up with kind of which ones I've been neglecting the longest and need to pay attention to. So this is really handy. You'll notice that there's no folder for test assignment because there was no document attached to test assignment. If I switch over to Classroom and go back to my actual classroom, if you remember on the Classwork tab, there was also a link to the Class Drive folder. And if you remember a moment ago, I was in my Google Drive and I went to that Classrooms folder, and then I found AP Statistics 2021, and that's where all my assignment folders were. If I just click this link that says Class Drive folder, it's going to take me directly there instead of having to navigate from my drive to Classroom to AP Statistics 2021. So sometimes that's a quicker way to find it. If I switch over to Cowboy's student account and go to his Classwork tab, you see he also has a Class Drive folder. And if he opens that, you can see it's got the same structure here. It's my drive, classroom, and then every classroom he's ever joined is going to have its own folder. But instead of his AP Statistics folder having folders inside of it, it just has the document, like the actual document that I assigned to him, because he just has one. It doesn't need a folder. But like in theory, he could see all the work he had done in my class all year long in this one folder. It's kind of like a self-creating portfolio. This is another good reason to kind of get in the habit of always attaching a document and saying make a copy for each student, even if you're just attaching a blank Google Doc and saying make a copy for each student. It's a good way to kind of keep your file structure well organized. I'm going to show you. So Cowboy has test assignment, which we did not attach anything to. He's going to come in and I'm going to create a Google Doc for him. This is kind of a new thing where you can create documents right in Google Classroom, and it's really nice. And one thing that's nice about it is you can see it has named the file well. I'm sure we've all had the experience of having a Google Drive crammed with untitled document. But here's his test assignment. I'm going to put something in there and I'm going to hit turn in. Sure you want to turn it in? Yes, I do. All right, so if I hop back over now to his folder, I can see that the assignment that he just created is also in the Drive folder, right? Like because we created it in Classroom and turned it in through Classroom, Classroom is doing a really nice job keeping that file structure organized for us. If I switch over to my teacher account, I can see this folder was not there before. There was not a test assignment folder before because there were no files associated with it to have in a folder. Google Classroom had no way to know whether or not students were going to be submitting documents to go with that assignment or if they were just going to be typing questions or what. And when I open that up, I can see there is Cowboy's test assignment. One thing to watch out for and maybe kind of train your students around is instead of creating his assignment through Classroom, Cowboy could have just made a blank Google Doc. Right? Docs.new is my favorite way to do that. And he could have just said test assignment. And then he didn't think to name it because they never think to name it. Or maybe he did. We'll give him some credit. He did name it, test assignment. But he didn't put his name in it, right? So now they're all just going to say test assignment. Let's go back here and we're going to unsubmit it. Because I haven't returned this to Cowboy, he doesn't have the option to resubmit. If I had returned it already, it would say resubmit here instead of unsubmit. That Cowboy can unsubmit his first document. Delete the first document, although he could have just added the second document. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Never mind. I didn't want to create. I wanted to attach. My bad. Just kidding. Okay, take that off. Cowboy's Drive is going to start to be a mess, y'all. And I'm going to add a Drive link this time instead. And I'm going to select that document that he created on his own. And I'm going to hit turn in. So now when I pop back over to Cowboy's Drive, you can see that that test assignment document that I made on my own is not automatically in his AP Statistics 2021 Drive. And I'll refresh the page just to convince you. But it's not going to be in here because it's going to exist wherever he created it, right? Like he created that as its own thing, not associated with Classroom. And now even though he's turned it in through Classroom, it's not showing up in his Classroom folder on Drive. If I come over here to my teacher account, that's not what I meant, and I look under the test assignment, that's what I was doing. So if I go to the test assignment folder, it is going to show up in that folder for me, the teacher, because it was submitted via that assignment. So it stays organized on my end, but it's not going to automatically organize as well for the student on their end. So it's kind of a good practice if you're having students create documents and submit them through Google Classroom to either have them, you go ahead when you make the assignment, attach a doc and say make a copy for each student, or have them use the create button in Classroom on the Classroom assignment instead of creating a document on their own and just attaching it, because it just kind of helps keep everything in the same place. So that is Google Classroom Drive. It's a really helpful feature once you know how to use it. But I think a lot of folks don't know how to use it, so this hopefully is a helpful video. Let me know if you have any questions or thoughts about things that I've left out.